you have to prepare the child for the road. You
Yes.
can't prepare the road for the child.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't try to do
Oh,
that.
that's
And I
beautiful.
see
Beautifully
parents
said.
doing that all the time. And
Yes.
I
Prepare the
often
child for
feel
the
like
road.
reaching out to them, like, so that they will pick up fights with the teachers or the principals. Why
Yes.
has my child not got this opportunity?
Yes.
Then and I have always been, and my kids initially used to say that, mama, so and so's mother goes and speaks to the teachers, and the teacher has done this for her and all. Why don't you speak? And I always tell them, you have to fight your own battles.
Correct.
I am there right behind you. We are there as parents right behind you. No matter what you do, I will be there.
Hi, we are the Confident Communicator, and I am Seema Mehta, along with my partner Deepma Jadeja. Welcome to Imperfect Parenting. Together, let's get on a journey of discovering kindness, success, and happiness courageously, fearlessly, and by holding ourselves to a standard of grace, not perfection. It is our mission at the Confident Communicator to empower kids and adults discover their own uniqueness through our coaching, training, and soft skills program. We welcome you to a new chapter of Imperfect Parenting, a series dedicated to discovering our own uniqueness without judgment by chiseling away all superfluous materials within ourselves.
Hi everyone, this is Seema Mehta from the Confident Communicator, along with my business partner Deepma Jadeja. We are here yet again for another episode of Imperfect Parenting, and we talk a lot about holistic development of children in education as well as in life with their life skills. But it's a bit of a buzzword, and we really don't know what that means, and we really want to dive a little deeper. And we couldn't have asked for a much better guest today, as we have Shatarupa Dasgupta, who is the COO of FairGaze. She is an education consultant who has been involved in policy and strategy formulation and implementation of developmental schemes at grassroots level, which sounds very complex. But to really break it down, she has conducted several programs for teachers so that they provide outcome-oriented solutions for learning as well as in teaching. And I think that she's so deeply rooted in the whole education industry that I think she's the best person to talk about this. And her company, FairGaze, is involved in doing so many of these holistic development programs. And I'm so curious to know how it all started. So welcome, Shatarupa, to our program. So happy and so honored that you're here.
Hi, Seema. Hi, Deepma. Thank you so much for having me here. And thank you for being so kind with your introduction. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you guys.
Great. So let's start with something very basic, Shatarupa. So, we talk about, parenting as the starting point of a stakeholder in the life of a child. The stakeholders include a lot of people, but parents are the first. What in your mind are the true stakeholders who really are influential in the development of a child? And why should parents focus on all of those other stakeholders also?
Right. Very interesting question. Parents as stakeholders is something that, we all know intuitively, but
Yes.
we don't call it out as in, we are all working women. So we have external stakeholders. We would often forget about the internal stakeholders that impact the child's life,
Very true.
So yes, parents, I feel, are not just the first entry of stakeholders into a child's life, but perhaps the most influential stakeholders, and I say that not just with experience, but also while we have interacted with so many thousands of students across the country. So what is the role of a parent as a stakeholder? What is at stake here for a parent? The most important thing at stake here is how well is the child going to grow up? How well is the child going to get adjusted in the society? How well is the child going to achieve their own potential, whatever potential the child has, So these are all things that are at stake.
Yes.
As a parent, those are the things that we need to really focus on, because what is at stake is actually really critical issues that the child will face in life, or that they are facing already, or even the way the child will impact others. I mean,
Right.
just not just about the child's own life,
Right.
but they will also be impacting lives of other people around them. We, as parents, we need to keep all these things in mind. Those are
Yes.
the things that are at stake.
Correct.
Actually, if I may broaden the perspective here, I would say that the peace of a society is at stake here.
Yes, very
Where
true. So true.
the way our society is right now, how do we balance it? How do we balance the haves and the have-nots? And how do we, and haves and the have-nots are not just on an economic scale. Haves
Correct.
and have-nots are on many scales, right? I
True.
mean, you call it academic, psychological, emotional, economic,
Yes.
or even just in the at the co-curricular levels, or any other level. We all have some positives and some things that we need to work on. So how do we balance that as a society? And all of these things contribute to the larger peace that we all look for. So yes, I think as a parent, it's very important to keep a big picture in mind.
Yes.
That this, of course, the child often doesn't leave us much time to think about the big picture.
Yeah, yeah.
We are
But the
so
profile of the
hands-on.
family has changed, right? I mean, earlier there was a profile of a family where usually it would be the mother who's the nurturer. She would be at home with the child. She would take care of all his or her, physical, psychological, emotional needs. Now the moms have started going out. They've now started engaging in economic contribution, financial contribution, creating their own careers. So the profile of the family has changed, which is where the role of the stakeholders now have become even more critical. I mean, there was a time when I remember when I was growing up, I don't think my dad has even stepped into my school. I don't think he ever came into my school. And every PTMs and PTAs my mother used to attend. And I don't think she ever questioned the teachers about anything about what I was doing in school. However, today the parents are much more informed, yet they're not, and they're very involved. A bit of helicopter parenting is also happening. So now these other stakeholders are also becoming very vital and critical in the development of the child. So what is your thoughts on that?
I wanted to just kind of add to that question a little bit in terms of the whole. We are always looking, and you said that beautifully in the beginning, where we're looking for the holistic development of the child. We're not looking just for economic or this or that. We're looking at all of the parameters that of success. One of the things that we have noticed with our parents, when we are looking at parents of our students, we're realizing that success, the very definition of success, seems to have changed into a more grades and economic kind of a path, right?
Parameters,
And,
yeah.
and I'm wondering what you think about bringing that back a little bit into the older Indian perspective of parenting, which was the value system, the culture, the psychological development, the kindness, the empathy, all of that also. And the mother being a very big part of this development of the child, when she is educated and going out of the house to work, or even choosing to stay back at home. How does that change the how we approach development?
Very nicely put, Deepa. And so I'm going to take both the things a little, one by one. So to Seema's question that, what are the other kind of stakeholders that impact a child? Of course, right next to the parents, it would be the school community, that really shape the child for the future. The way the teachers speak to the children, the way the school reacts to the kind of upbringing that they want to provide to the child. Even the gate man, when the child enters the school, if the gate man is a grumpy old man, that's another story. Whereas if you have someone nice and warm, "Aa jao beta," that's another story. So, these small things also have an impact. Or even the didi who sits in the class, in the younger classes, if they are kind, you have children actually reaching out to them, even for going to the washroom or drinking water, they're easily approachable. So So yeah, I mean, right after the parents, it would be the school community that would shape the child. And I would say that, the parents and the schools together have done maybe 90% of the job of shaping the personality of the child.
Yeah.
Because beyond that, it is more experiential.
Correct,
But
correct.
here it is actually a lot of absorption happens from what we see in our surroundings, and what we learn from the people around, the children, especially the families and the school community. So yeah, I'll just add a little bit about FairGaze here, the
Yeah.
organization that I'm working for right now. We believe in unlocking the potential of every child. And we believe in holistic development. It's a very big word, holistic development. We try to break it up into smaller pockets for making it very easy for the parents, teachers, schools, students, all of them to understand. What do you mean by holistic development?
Yeah, please define that for us, Shatarupa.
Yeah. There is no one definition, if I may say. I'm not sure if there is, but in our opinion, it would be the best to which a child can achieve. I would not put a benchmark for every child, because the bar is going to be different for everyone.
Correct.
It is up to the child's potential. It is up to the child's ability to change or to adjust to the surroundings. And all of us have different strengths and weaknesses. So for us also, when we talk to the schools, that is what we from FairGaze, that's what we tell them, that every child will grow at their own pace. And if say a few things are put in place, every child will find their place under the sun also. Correct. So it's don't worry too much as to.
But don't you feel that that's, while that sounds very idealistic, does that really happen? I mean, why a lot of children are struggling today, but there's a lot of mental health issues also that are happening, where really I don't think the message is going to the child saying that, listen, it's okay, you can go at your own pace. But if a child is going at their own pace, there is this whole thing about, hey, you're not performing well, where are your marks? Yeah, so I mean, how do we
so the messaging here, you're very right, the messaging to the child is quite mixed up. But that is where I think organizations like FairGaze and Confident Communicator, for that matter, would step in, where we want to empower the parents and the teachers, and perhaps the principals as well, because the principals guide the teachers. It's the principal's will that will be followed by the school. So we want to empower them and tell them that it's okay for the child to grow at their own pace. They also have their challenges. We have a challenge of scale in this country. So it is really not sometimes possible to, continue giving individual attention to the students. But we can, what we can do is to ensure that the teachers realize that it is okay. And let me tell you very interesting anecdote from my son's school. Excuse me. I was a parent who went after. I went and spoke to the class teacher out of turn, not at a PTM, out of turn, and I said, my son refuses to do the homework, and he doesn't want to sit and study. He just wants to enjoy and watch TV or go out to play and stuff like that. And this is the sentence that I'm using now, that let the child grow at his own pace, is something the teacher told me. So the teacher came back to me and said, ma'am, don't worry about it. This is a school which will nurture the potential of the child and let the child grow at his own pace. Having said that, as a parent, I also realized that you cannot completely let go. Okay, let the child grow at their own pace. That also does not work. One has to step in, but one is
there has to be a balance.
Keeping that in mind. At the back of my mind, it's always there that, every child will grow differently. Every child. And then I got into multiple intelligences that are there. And as I went deeper into the education field, I realized that, there are so many things that as a parent, we should keep in mind. Be positive is something, I have been guilty as well of always pointing out of what will happen if you don't do this.
Yes.
Rather than telling them what will happen if you do this.
Yes.
Why don't you do this and then see, I am sure, I don't know if it might sound too cliched, or I'm not sure if you want to edit it out, but I used to always tell them, पढ़ाई नहीं करोगे तो घर की सफाई करनी पड़ेगी, ये करना पड़ेगा.
Oh my God, you're touching a nerve over here.
We've all said it. We've all said it.
Okay.
I said different things like, you want to be a rickshaw driver, you want
Yes,
to be
yeah.
Why do we do this? But
Yeah,
that's the beauty
and then
of
again I picked
imperfection.
up again from one of my friends, and I started saying that, if you study, you might be in a position to help the domestic help.
Yes.
You might be able to help the person live a better life. Maybe her daughters will go to school. She has not gone to school, but you might be in a position to ensure that the maid's daughters go to school.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that don't guilt the child. I mean,
don't guilt the child. It doesn't work.
Making them feel.
Well,
I know my own daughter has said that to me, Kate. You always make me feel very guilty. Yeah. And I think that's when she said that to me, I felt like, oh my God, I don't realize as a parent I'm doing that.
Do it intentionally.
But if we reprogram the way we speak to our children, that will absolutely change the way they perceive success and failure.
Yes, I'm talking from experience. The moment I started saying, if you study, then these positives will happen. Okay. You can change my daughter is extremely unhappy with the climate change that is happening, and so I said, you will be in a position to change that, or you will be in a position to ensure the maid's daughters go to school and get a good education there. Wow. Or even, a little bit about how the maid manages her money. Yeah. Right now it's like it's a hand to mouth existence, but how does she do a little bit more of, financial management? Maybe you'll be able to teach her, but you need to know it first. So you need to study.
So I remember one conversation we had with the previous guest is where he said you need to attach a sense of purpose, like a purpose to the child. So for example, when you said that, you will be able to impact climate change, or you will be able to help this domestic helper maybe improve her financial situation. When you attach a purpose to what you are learning, I think that itself opens up a completely different perspective in the mind. Yeah. So I remember this conversation.
Yeah. Sense of purpose and something positive. A positive, a positive return. Yes. We always talk about what will happen negatively, but what is the positive return to your own self? If you do this, what's your return on investment kind of thing, Correct. So that is something that has worked, and so, to your question.
So how does this sort of combine with, maybe I'm digressing a little bit, but how does this whole holistic development that you were defining so beautifully combine with the life skills? I mean, how does this integrate with each other? Is there something common here? Is it the same thing? Can you kind of explain that to us?
Yes, absolutely. So when we talk about holistic development, I think, again, intuitively, we talk primarily of those skills apart from the hardcore skills like teaching, learning, or speaking in English, or digital literacy, those are the hard skills, right? Or even mechanical engineering and stuff like that, So when we talk about holistic development, we talk of an all-round development for the child. Yes. As all-round development, it means how are we going to, if I have to oversimplify it for that matter, how are we going to ensure that the child is well adjusted in the society? If I have to oversimplify it, because if you see around us, there is a lot of maladjustment that is there. And I know these are people, we always criticize people, but I always talk to, when I talk about them and I hear the complaints coming in, I always tell them that they are also representing the same society that you are.
Yes.
They are not different. They have gone to the same schools. Correct. They have similar parents. But what is that is different?
Could you give us a specific example of what you mean by this malpractice? Can you?
No, maladjustment.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes.
Maladjustment.
Yeah. So how do we say a child is maladjusted?
Yeah.
I'll take some examples from school, and I will talk about myself as well.
Okay.
In school, I was a naturally curious child, which I am sure every child is. And, if I would ask questions which were beyond the syllabus, I would be asked to shut up. Like, the teacher would be like, this is something, you just keep quiet. You always ask questions out of the syllabus. Let us focus, finish the course. Now, what happened over years?
Disruptive. You're considered disruptive if you ask questions, because we have the culture of the guru shishya, right?
Correct. But what happened over the years psychologically is that I stopped asking questions, not just in school. I stopped questioning everything outside also. And you start becoming an introvert, and you start taking and keeping things within you. And I, as I started growing up, and fortunately, I studied psychology thereafter, and went on to join the education field, and a lot of clarity has come in thereafter. But when I look back into my schooling years, I can see the source. I can see the source from where the initial maladjustments would have started. Bullying is again a maladjusted behavior. Even being bullied is also maladjusted behavior.
Both sides.
Being bullied and the bullying the child, both are maladjusted behavior. Not having any kind of control over the emotions. Suddenly one child becomes extremely aggressive, some child becomes absolutely quiet, somebody starts crying at the drop of a hat. These are all maladjusted behavior. Absolutely. They are the softer ones in the spectrum. I mean, there are the deeper ones as well, which are like children get into juvenile criminal activities, or I did a small research in one of the detention homes here earlier, many years ago, and there was a child whose father was a rich businessman, but he had, he would steal bikes and sell them to earn that extra money to tom-tom amongst his friends that, I get so much money at home, but he was not getting the money from home. And I met the child in jail. And this was a child who was speaking in English. This was a child who was going to a good school. I mean, that's the other end of the spectrum of maladjusted behavior. But these are things which come from school. So imagine a situation where the teacher or the principal, and of course the parents, but from the school's perspective, if the teacher is able to identify them and is not stigmatizing it. Don't make it into a stigma. It's not the child's fault. You need to sit with the child and talk to the child. So if the teacher is able to do that, what kind of an impact will it have on the society? So just imagine that, from that perspective, sorry?
I love what you're saying, because I wish we empowered the teachers to do more than just the curriculum. Right? And just the syllabus. Finish your portion, bas utna hi nahi karna hai, and earlier that used to be the case, where we had children. I remember when I was growing up, we had kids who would get 40 and 50% just passing. Then you had the 60 and 70%, you had the 75%, you had one or two kids who would get 90%, right? Now what has happened, unfortunately, I don't know if the exams have gotten easier, or we've just cracked them and the syllabus has remained exactly the same, or what it is, I don't know. But everybody's getting 90%.
Right.
So just that pressure to conform to this ridiculous grade is so much higher on both the parents and the teacher. And one of the things I remember when my son was growing up, of course, hugely imperfect parent here, so I have said kya rickshaw wala banna hai kya, you have to study, you have to do this. And he turned around one day and said, I think driving a rickshaw would be very cool. And he kind of shocked me out of my crazy, because I was trying to conform ki bahar kaise lagega, teachers ko kaise lagega, isko kaise lagega. And when we started the Confident Communicator, Seema and I, we started realizing that we have to tell our kids, we can't change the system. So stop sitting there and trying to fight the system and say, ye system to bekar hai, ye schools to bekar hai, this is bad, this is bad. Let's tell them ki you're going to face, you're on a journey. So speed bumps are going to come, potholes are going to come, broken roads are going to come. You're going to have places where they block the roads. You're going to have to take another turn or another route, right? So we're going to have to teach them that you may get some bad marks, you may get some this, you may get some that, you may get a bad teacher, you may get someone. Just deal with it. It's part of life. Everything mom cannot come and solve for you in the school. This is what makes and creates resilience. I was hearing a podcast where the man said the exact same thing, where he said, you know what? Sometimes disadvantages turn into advantages. It's okay. Let them have some disadvantages. Let them have the rough and tumble madness, of a crazy school that is not perfect. And I think that's what you're saying, is build that resilience in the child and let them have the studies and grow in all kinds of different areas. That's what you're talking of as holistic.
Right, absolutely, Deepma. And that is, as a parent, the one thing that has been constant in all my, the way of parenting that I have been adopting, and it has kept changing over the years as the child grows. You have to change.
Yeah, it has to. You have to tweak it. Yes.
The one thing that has been common is you have to prepare the child for the road. You can't prepare the road for the child.
Yes.
Don't try to do that.
That's
And I see parents doing that all the time. And I feel like reaching out to them, like, so that they will pick up fights with the teachers or the principals. Why has my child not got this opportunity?
Yes.
Then and I have always been, and my kids initially used to say that, Mama, so and so's mother goes and speaks to the teachers, and the teacher has done this for her and all. Why don't you speak? And I always tell them, you have to fight your own battles. I am there right behind you. We are there as parents right behind you. No matter what you do, I will be there. Okay, I will support you, but you need to fight your own battles.
This is your battle.
Don't think that I'm sending you into battle alone. I am there with you, but you need to fight your own battles.
Love it.
So
I love what you said, Shatarupa. I just want to repeat it. We have to prepare the child for the road. You can't do the ulta thing and say
road for the child.
For the child. Beautifully. I used one whole paragraph. You said it in a sentence. Fabulous.
And that's what we believe in FairGaze also. That's what we do. We empower.
No, I was just coming to that if I have to explain to a parent, how do you prepare the child for the road? If I have to say, can you give me top 3 ways or top 5 ways, because this is the generation of instant gratification. What are the top 5 ways in which a person can prepare a child for the road? Could you give us some very specific, like you already said, speak positively. You said they need to resolve their own conflict. If they have a problem, they have to resolve it themselves. Anything else that you can add? Can you make us a nice list?
I have 2 grown-ups now. My daughter just turned 18 also. So from that
that's a great.
And from that experience and my work with FairGaze, I would say the right up there, the second thing would be patience. Okay. The second point would be patience. Be patient. We are so patient with everything that is happening around the world. We are so impatient with our own children.
Correct.
That's so unfair, right? I'm so patient with anything. Look at the healthcare system, or even the
garbage on the road.
Or the climate. Climate. We're not doing anything about it.
Correct. But we have such high expectations from our own children, and that we don't. Yeah, absolutely.
And we're very impatient with them. If I look back now, the one thing that I would really like to work on would be patience. Sometimes you don't need to react. It's okay. As a parent, you do, and as a teacher as well. As a teacher also, when we have our sessions with our teachers from FairGaze, we tell them the same thing. Sometimes, and kids are extremely. I don't know. I don't know what is the exact word for that, but they repair themselves. So fast.
They're very resilient.
Yeah, I don't know whether they introspect or anything, but the repairing mechanism is very cute and very fast in them.
Yes.
In fact, they'll have a fight and immediately they'll just half an hour later they're again playing together.
No, I remember when we were growing up.
In between to resolve the fight, that the fight becomes more serious.
When I was growing up, we used to play in our building. After school, we used to play in the building, and as kids, you end up fighting with each other, and there are, like you said, they fight and then they make up. But sometimes some fights become really big. And
if you notice, those fights become big because an adult would have stepped in.
Exactly. I was about to say that.
A parent would have stepped in, or a teacher would have stepped in. So the fight becomes a huge power play then.
My mom used to always say, you know what, figure it out. I'm not going to solve this for you.
She prepared you for the road. Absolutely.
And I remember that my sister and I, 2 of us would stand in front of 10 kids and fight it out. Sometimes we would come back. but you never bring it home because she never encouraged it. And I think that's where the resilience really comes in.
Yeah.
A lot of things you can handle in your life later on if you have been taught that at a very young age, that you go and figure it out yourself. The second thing you said about patience is very, very important, because I remember, when your child is not doing that great and there's a tendency to compare with somebody else, the best thing is to say, I think you really did your best and I'm very proud of you. That's it. You don't need to say, "Arey, but look at how this person did."
Or don't react.
Don't react.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you cannot use the positive words, then it's
don't say anything at all.
Yeah. This is also something I picked up in one of the child's PTMs. Yes. And there was a negative feedback from the teacher, some not even negative, some feedback had come, and I was just entering the class, I was outside, and the mother was slapping the kid. ये सुनने को मिलता है मुझे टीचर से, इतनी मेहनत करते हैं हम लोग और इतनी मुश्किल से वो दोस्त हिंदी मूवी डायलॉग्स कि इतना पैसे कमा रहे हैं और इतने बड़े स्कूल में पढ़ा रहे हैं और ये कर रहे हो, वो
और ये तुम कर रहे हो,
और ये तुम कर रहे हो, ये सुनने को मिलता है. And the kid was not even bothered, the kid was not crying or anything, वो चुपचाप सुन लिया, थोड़ी देर बाद खेलने चला गया होगा शायद. So I picked it up from there that and as a principal, every PTM that I've attended, I take 3 days. I do not speak about any points that the teacher tells me for 3 days to my kids.
Right.
I take those 3 days as a time to prepare.
Oh, that's interesting.
And process it in my mind on what would be the best way of presenting it to my child without making my child feel that I'm less.
That's a great tip, because if I have to, supposing I come back from a PTM and I'm about to react,
Shatarupa.
if I'm about to react right now, and then if I keep quiet for 3 days, I think my reaction is
not going to change much. It's not going to make a world of difference there.
Yes,
because this is the feedback over a month, or maybe 2 months. That PTMs in the school, it used to happen monthly. In many cases, it's 2 months, 3 months.
Correct.
It's a feedback over so many days. If I take 2 or 3 days to just chew over it or mull over it, prepare myself, I have a lot to thank Google for, because I've done a lot of Googling, on how to handle sensitive questions and how to give the right answers to the kids. Because the one thing I was very clear in my mind was also I am not going to stop my kids from questioning.
Correct.
Because of my own experiences, you can question anything. You can question my parenting style as well. So my kids are extremely... Of course, the Bong blood is also there. We are argumentative by nature. But we like to discuss openly.
No, and that's great, right? That's the healthy thing to do, to have. I think one of the tips I think you could add is having an open, healthy communication.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that's the only...
If you're patient and if you're patient and if you're positive, healthy discussions will happen. Children are naturally boisterous. Naturally, they'll come to you with questions,
Yes,
I think one big piece of advice that we can give to the parents also is that don't take everything personally. If your child has not done badly, it does not mean that your upbringing is bad. If your child is reacting, has done some badmashi, doesn't mean that you have not taught them well. I think we have to separate these two things, that it is what the child's experience is, and we don't have to connect everything to our upbringing and blame ourselves, which is why we call this series the Imperfect Parenting, because you're not expected to be perfect. That's really
absolutely. I remember one time throughout my children's growing up, my dad would sit with them, and their favorite thing to talk with my dad, very sadly, was all about my escapades as a child. Not the good stuff. They would always say, Nanaji, no, we don't want good stories. We want when Mama messed up. That's what. And I remember telling my dad, I was a much younger parent at that point, and I remember telling him, you're like making them not respect me. They'll not respect me. Don't tell them all this stuff. Here I'm trying to create this
this perfect image.
When I was a kid wali image, and you're messing it up so badly. And he'd promise and he'd say, nahi, abhi, I won't say anymore. And then they'd do it again. They'd go in the room and there'd be guspus and they'd be talking about, when Mama was 8 years old kind of
what
thing.
Did she do? Yeah.
What did she do? And then she got, 15 out of 40, how badly she got in trouble and all of those things. Today, I know my kids are grown up and, my dad, unfortunately, is no longer around. But those were what made me human. Those experiences were what made me human to my children. And also that imperfectness is what they grew with.
Yes.
And they said, I can be imperfect too. Arey, Mama was no perfect person. I can be imperfect too. And it opened up a lot of conversations. I have my dad to thank for that. So I love that you're saying, you open those conversations, let them have the boisterous questioning wala conversations, because that's where they learn from. They don't learn from the times when you were perfect.
No, I think there's also a cultural issue here, right? Because in our country, and I think somewhere, I think in the rest of the world too, we sort of criminalize mistakes and failures, right? We always do that.
Yes.
The whole talk and conversation about vulnerability, about imperfection is something that we need to now talk about more and more, because really, I mean, we always say, philosophically, failures are great teachers. We learn from our failures.
Me, Seema. So I will differ from what Deepa just said a little bit. So I have been a very, very naughty child. Okay, in school.
Really?
Yes, majorly. And I used to be many a times caught outside the class. Most of the times, I would say, I would be standing outside. And there have been times when I've been punished and I'm standing outside. And from there, I went off and started playing something else, while the class was going on. All sorts of things. I think my parents used to be called to the school quite often to be told of my escapades, as you shared. What I did with my kids, Deepa, is I told them everything that I did. Okay, I told them, this is what I have done, and I had such a fun time in school.
Wonderful.
And I listened to stories of my friends who had a terrible time in school, because they were good students.
Yeah.
They had to study. I was not a backbencher. Yeah. I kind of, I not really flunking anywhere. I used to in those days, it used to be the first division, second division, third. So I've been having first division all across, more or less. But, I used to not like studying. I used to study what was not in my syllabus and, question my teachers and stuff like that as I grew old. So I told my kids, this is the life in school. This is how you have to enjoy it. So for my kids, the goal was, and I'm sorry if I'm giving very bad tips to parents, but for my kids, I used to tell them, if your principal is not calling me to complain about you, you're not having fun.
You're not having fun.
Yeah. I used to tell them, how come, and you won't believe, in Delhi in the winters, I used to feel criminal waking them up to send them to school. So I used to tell them, aaj bunk kar le. Aaj so ja, wapis kar, no need to go to school. You won't believe, both my kids, they love going to school.
This is like reverse psychology.
Reverse psychology kaam kar gaya. And, and they would just say, Mama, how can you talk like this? This is not okay.
Yeah.
And I would tell them, you just have fun. I'm there to handle. If you'll not get into trouble, that much I know.
Yeah.
Because, the value system is such.
Because you are very relaxed as a parent. I mean, when you are
very
relaxed as a parent,
and I have given them different sets of goals. I said, and the report card in my children's school used to have two parts to it. One part was the soft skills, and the second part would be the academics. The academics would be the right-hand side, and the left-hand side, they had all those communication, leadership, environment, and fulana damka. There was a whole column to it. So for both my kids, till class 12th, I've been telling them, if you take care of the left-hand side, the right-hand side will take care of itself.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, the left-hand side used to be all the skills.
Thank you for saying that.
For those that were important, in my perspective, in the life that I have seen, and I've worked with so many people outside, with teachers, students, school community, those are the things which will help you succeed later after school.
Correct.
Okay. And that is exactly, I'm giving the example of my kids, but that is exactly what we do in FairGaze as well. We tell them that if you take care of these skills, your academics will automatically get taken care of. Academics is not about rote learning. Academics is about your thirst for learning.
Yes.
The more you are thirsty to learn, the better marks you will get. Don't have any doubts in that.
And you will be thirsty to learn if you have confidence, right? Your soft skills.
Confidence, exactly.
All your soft skills. Anytime you get involved in the soft skills arena, you will start becoming confident about yourself and risks that you take, the failures that you experience, the challenges that you meet, and that automatically converts into good marks. That's absolutely on the dot. Absolutely.
So in my home, it's a running joke. Left-hand side is better than the right-hand side, from the report cards. That's
I love that.
Shatarupa, आपके ये 2 tips are going to go viral. One,
Viral for sure.
I hope I'm not
If you're-
told for that.
No. I think no.
principal
It's
is not calling to
valid.
the school, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, you're not having fun. School is a
Yeah.
place
And
to
the
have
second-
fun, and only if you have fun, you will learn.
Yes.
If you're
is
not
when
having
you
fun,
learn.
you're not
That is
learning.
our philosophy too.
You are
Yeah.
not learning if you're not having fun,
Correct.
If you remember,
Correct.
like I remember the hare and the tortoise story, Deepma, Seema,
Yes.
both of us, how many of us will remember whatever law it was, say the Newton's first law verbatim, we don't remember. Or if you, I mean,
You
of course,
remember all these
Pythagoras
stories.
theorem, but
Yeah.
if you ask me to define, like use the exact words, I'll not remember because I did not have fun learning them.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
But when the hare and tortoise story was told to us, it was fun.
Yes.
So I remember it.
Yes.
Yes.
So those are the things which, these are very intuitive, maybe personal experiences.
No, these are the experiences we are looking for. And I think we all as parents forget the fundamental goal for our children. As parents, what do we want? We want our children to be happy. At the end of it, we want them to be happy. Happiness will come when you are that left side, you're developing that left side that builds the confidence, and that confidence flows into the right side, and the right side starts going up. So all that happiness will come from there itself.
Yes.
Right.
In fact, that sort of leads me to your work at FairGaze. And, in the world of podcasts and social media and internet and technology, where a lot of these classes are being offered online for holistic development, life skills, and those kind of things, learning is now going beyond the classroom. And
Right.
e-learning is becoming more and more greater. So for many years, kids have been going to classes. हम लोग classes में जाते थे. Even as kids, we have also gone to classes outside of school. But now e-learning is becoming a very important developmental aspect of a child's life. What is your opinion about e-learning, and do you feel like that is the direction that parents can take advantage of? What is your take on that?
Sure. Yeah. So at FairGaze, like we said, we talk about unlocking the potential of every individual child. Yeah. And every individual child, excuse me, has different layers of potentials, right? It's not that the level of potential is the same in everyone. So how is it's such a diverse concept, right? Unlocking the potential. How do we do that? That is where also e-learning comes into play. We use this platform to provide content. We provide mentors to provide access to kind of, workshops or Model United Nations or SDG, Sustainable Development Goal campaigns, or even social and emotional learning programs. Now, this is the platform that FairGaze provides, and every child is at a different potential, will find something or the other that is relevant in this entire platform.
Yes.
Correct.
They need not start at level A or they need not end at level Z. They can start at level H, for example. If I'm at level H, I will start at level H and then go upwards, or if I'm at level B, I start at level B and then go upwards. So we ensure that, there is a whole spectrum of programs which are available to them. And as I said, a big focus is on fun, on making it interesting, interactive, communicative, so that I have a group of students in FairGaze itself. So we run about 10 webinars a month. And, we have webinars on future life skills, on creative thinking, on well-being, and we have counseling sessions. Counseling sessions are career counseling as well as psychological counseling, both of them. So we have a group of students who ping us back if they don't says, when is this next webinar on this topic coming up? So they reach out to us, and when we speak to the teachers, your school students are so active, and they're like, "Acha, ye bacha to baat hi nahi karta hai." ये तो ऐसे कभी अच्छा आपने इसके बारे में बोला ये तो.
No, but it almost sounds like it sounds like you are empowering the child to take the reins of their own life by they may be like I see that about my own daughter, where she's very quiet otherwise. The teachers also say she's very quiet, but when I see her with her friends, I mean, she's a completely different personality. So I think when you start giving the rein of your own hand, of your own life in your hands, and you are learning, and through learning, I think that the teachers will also be surprised that, oh my God, I never expected this kid to do this.
Right, so, absolutely. So that is where we, that's also, that's
so that opportunity is there for the parents that,
and varied opportunities for varied requirements, varied needs.
Correct.
So
And
the
I think
teacher who wants
now,
to focus on communication skills will get something on that.
exactly.
A teacher who wants to focus on academics will also get something on that.
Correct.
Say I want to brush up my English, how do I teach English better? So I might find something here as well. So,
correct.
Those kind of things are there. So it's a,
I think there is the opportunity for people, parents and kids and students is very much available. I mean, now the Udemy courses, Coursera courses on FairGaze. I mean, these are now opportunities for parents to sort of go. Even when we, as the Confident Communicator, went online, we went online because of the pandemic. We were never offering our programs online, and suddenly an opportunity opened up for us. And what we learned is that while parents are getting tired of kids being online all the time, the sort of opportunity that the kid would have otherwise never had, maybe somebody sitting in Lucknow or somebody sitting in Kanpur or somebody sitting in Bombay, we are here in Bangalore. When we give our programs online, suddenly this world becomes small and flat, and we all sort of talk to each other, and we all have the same problems. The children have the same problems all over the world. So absolutely. I think that the online has definitely opened up that opportunity both for parents, educators, as well as for students. So those are.
But one has to be also a little careful with online content. You cannot leave it entirely to the child. A little bit of monitoring is required. And more than monitoring, I feel discussions are required at home and at the school, to empower them on why we are telling them that such and such content is not to be
appropriate.
Not appropriate for them.
We have a practice.
And children are very logical. If you explain the logic to them, they will perhaps understand it better than if there is a blanket ban. No, you will not do this. They will not understand, and they will not even uphold it.
Yes,
perhaps.
We have
it to them.
We have an interesting thing that we do in our programs, which is at the end of every class, we send a class update to the parents to kind of go through everything we've spoken about, along with the skill sets and the competency that we are, sharing with the kids. What that does is that the parents suddenly realize that, there is something more than what I had expected that is being done in class, and I see the change because of these reasons. Right. And I feel like maybe even in school, that kind of communication with the stakeholders, I'm going back to the original point of stakeholders, if we can have that connection with the stakeholders, where the stakeholders are able to experience and understand what the child is learning, and then have a conversation about it, then maybe it will be easier in terms of, that gap between education and skill development that I know you are very actively trying to fill. Can be done if we have that sort of a open transparency and communication.
So, Seema, we at FairGaze, we run a monthly magazine called Scholastic. Scholastic, and that in that magazine, we provide at least 8 to 10 articles written by students.
Yes.
Okay. So, it was a very interesting feedback that we got from one of the principals. And she said, most of the times the teachers, the principals and the parents are talking to the students, right?
Yeah.
We are always talking to them. Here is a magazine which is allowing them to talk about themselves. So they are talking about their own lives. And believe you me, one of the articles that I really remember, and I quote that, is about a class 10 student who was talking about quality time that parents need to spend with their children. This is a class 10 student who's written this article. It's a short half-page article. Yeah. But the thoughts were so nice, and it really touched me that how many times have we asked the child's perspective on quality time? Yes. It's always adult to adult transactions that are happening, right? So these are times, and this is a magazine which is going out to about 5,000 schools across the country. We have articles by principals, by students, and by educationists, also practitioners in the field. So the feedback from the students is this is a platform where we can express what impacts us. Yes. What are the things that are impacting us? Very few people ask us that question. It's always the parents or teachers who are deciding.
Yeah, because absolutely. And I think that's really stems down to something that we also very deeply believe in, which is asking the opinion of the child. One of the things you do in a communication skills class is expressing how you feel. And I'm both Deepma and I are very passionate about telling the parents, here is a dinner time conversation. You need to create a dinner time conversation about this topic. It could be as simple as that, How many times do we spend time on phones or devices when we are sitting to each other with each other? Or at the dinner table, are we watching some movies? Or, there are so many conversations. What is your opinion about a movie? What is your opinion about an event that is happening between Russia and Ukraine? I mean, there can be so many conversations. But as a culture, how often do we encourage our children to sort of offer their opinion about something?
Yeah,
and
very true. Very true. Yeah,
that can only happen.
Parents, parents are working nowadays, both parents, right?
Yes.
So, and I have gone through the same cycle. So you have those 3 to 4 hours time in which you have to take care of academics.
Finish everything.
Yes, you have to take care of nutrition. You have to take care of the value system. You have to take care of cleanliness and hygiene. And if you have a pet and all, you have to take care of the pets also, and the house, and running a house is a recurring activity. So, within those 3 to 4 hours, you have to manage everything. So what happens is, what gets sacrificed is the discussion and the talking time.
Yes.
That gets sacrificed. Yes. Because sometimes, it's easier to do it yourself than to explain something to others or explain how it is to be done and get it done.
Correct.
So, it's the paucity of time that actually.
No, that is true, but we have to steal the time. For example, I mean,
just like we do in our offices.
Yeah.
We have days, like in an office, I'm sure most people would be having days where employees just have fun.
Yeah.
They engage in fun activities.
We have to assign a time for it.
Yes.
So for example, when you talked about the quality of spending time with children, that's a great conversation. I drop my daughter to school every day without fail. And I insist that I drop her, because that ride, it's probably a 10-minute ride. It's not more than that, 10 to 15 minutes max. But the 15 minutes of time that I spend with her, I think is much more powerful than when she comes back from school and she's tired and I have got some stuff going on. She's got some stuff going on. Homework is there. There's all kinds of things and she's not in the state of mind to talk to me. Right. Those 15 minutes that I spend with her in the morning are the most crucial conversations that we have. Right. And I think we have to steal that time. We have to assign a time when we can have those. It doesn't have to be 1 hour. Yaar. We don't have, no kid is going to talk to you for an hour. Right. Right. Let's do the 10-15 minutes, but let's do it. Yeah.
So Seema, you talked about the top 3 things that we can tell, on what can help us bridge the communication gap between parents and children.
Yes.
The third thing that I would talk about is perseverance. Don't give up.
Don't give
As
up.
a parent, you're not allowed to give up.
Not.
If it doesn't, and don't even be, disappointed that something is not working. Correct. My kids always tell me, why are you doing this? This becomes extremely nagging. And I hear my parents in my own head as well. Though when I was a child, I didn't like the way.
Didn't like it. Yeah.
But you just imbibe, it's internalized so badly that you end up saying similar things to the child. And I always tell them, look, as a parent, my job is to annoy you. Okay.
My job is to annoy you. I'm going to use that line with my.
So whether you like it or not, I'm going to annoy you.
Yeah.
So what I want to say here is that, of course, the annoying is not to ensure that my child becomes miserable. The annoying part is more to kind of continuously be at it.
Yes.
Just persevere, just stay there, hang in there. Do not make the child also feel that you're giving up on them.
Yeah.
You have to just continue, you have to hit the nail continuously on the head till it rightly fits in. So it's a similar thing with any kind of, and you have a goal as a parent, you have to have a goal. So I want my child, I have used a inverted pyramid kind of approach in my parenting where, I had the 10 things that I wanted my child to have as an adult. Yeah. So I don't start with a broad based. I started very simple, one step at a time. But if I, compassionate, I wanted my kids to be compassionate human beings. I wanted my kids to be, gender sensitive and believe in gender equality, to be kind to nature, to the animals and, all that is around us. And of course, be happy. And have a song on your lips and have a song in your heart and a smile on your lips.
On your lips,
that's about it. That was my, on top. Yes. And how do I reach there is then the funnel.
Correct.
Then how do you kind of keep that goal in mind and be at it? So perseverance, patience, perseverance. These are things I think as parents and teachers, we really need to keep in mind. We cannot brand kids as नहीं ये नहीं कर सकता, ये नहीं हो सकता, इसमें ये है, इसमें वो है, ऐसा नहीं. Doesn't work like that. The potential is more or less there in all of us. It just needs to be identified and then it needs to be supported.
Yeah, I think the point of uniqueness, the uniqueness in an individual is something that I think if every single stakeholder in the life of a child can understand, we are all born unique. We all are meant to do different things. We are all coming up with different strengths. So if we can keep that broad, I love that inverted, the triangle that you talked about, where set those basic goals for your children. What do you expect them to be? And I see that the goals are not necessarily, I want you to be an engineer.
No, that's not a goal.
It's not what you want to be.
Absolutely. That's not even a goal, actually.
It's not even a goal.
Yeah, it's the road. You can be an engineer, it's the road. You can be an engineer, you can be a teacher, you can be a doctor, you can be a rickshaw puller, an entrepreneur, a tea seller, anything. But then what is the kind of human being that you want to become? What you want your child to become?
Correct.
What kind of human beings, and from the perspective of teachers as well, what do you want your students to be once they leave school? What they do is different from what they are.
Who they are.
Yes. So what you want to be is different from what you want to do.
Yes.
You may want to do,
so we always,
unfortunately these two things get mixed up. Yeah. So who you want to be.
So we always talk about focus on who you want to be rather than what you want to be. These are two different, the who and the what mein bahut farak hai.
And what you want to be and what you want to do are different things.
Correct.
You may do anything you want, the sky is the limit. Do anything you want. But what you want to be as a human being, those are things that you need to be careful about.
That's
my opinion. Those are the things you need to focus on. That is what I'm doing is going to help me to be that or not.
Yeah, I think, Seema, we have the title to our episode here, which is focus more on who you want to be rather than what you want to do, right? I think that's very, very important. And Shatarupa, I don't know if you intended this or not, but we have 4 P's as tips. I was writing it down and suddenly I realized that they were all starting with P, and it was have a positive attitude and positive words, have patience with your child and teach them patience also. I'm just looking at this and I'm so amazed. Support their potential, support their unique potential rather than the role that you want them to have, talk about the potential that they are going to be as a human being. And the 4th thing was perseverance. And they all ended up
starting with P. It just came, I think, when you speak to such amazing people as you and Seema, I think it just got me thinking. And
we expected that brilliance from you for sure, Shatarupa. Given your experience and your passion towards education. And, I don't know how we can thank you for this conversation, because I think a lot of parents who are watching this are going to be benefiting and probably going to pause and be aware of where they see, because we are all parents, we are all making mistakes, we all screwed up, we all said rickshaw driver banega kya, we've all done it. But once the idea of this podcast or this episode is really to make that awareness come back and say, you know what, I need to think about how I'm speaking to my child.
Yes.
What are the goals I'm setting for my child? Right. What is it that I want my child? What kind of value system I want for my kid? How do I recognize his or her uniqueness? Right. This is what we are trying to do, and getting somebody like you on our episode just fulfills that and just keeps us very, very humble.
Sorry for interrupting. I'll also take a moment here and say that, these are learnings which haven't come in easily.
No, they're not.
What I'm sharing with you is not something that, I know I was born with it. It's not like that.
It's the journey that
we learn.
We learn.
I always say that to my kids on their faces also. I cannot thank them enough.
Yes.
I cannot thank them enough for helping me to learn, to be a better version of myself, even as a parent.
And absolutely. And the patience is the number one over there. It's like way up there. Patience is something my children have, and I'm a very impatient person. So patience is something think they have really taught me, hopefully to a certain extent. So, you know what, Shatarupa, thank you so much for this conversation. We are very, very humbled and honored that you were part of this episode. And we hope to continue our conversation with you. And we hope to see all the parents. And, please add your comments. I know my internet is going in and out. I apologize for that. But I hope that we have been able to support our parents in their journey of imperfection as parents. And we'll see you guys again next week for another episode of Imperfect Parenting. Thank you.
Thank you to the Confident Communicator. Thank you, Seema. Thank you, Deepma, for having me here. It's been a very, very stimulating conversation.
Absolutely.
And I also take back a lot of learnings from the conversation that we have. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shatarupa.